I woke up on the floor that morning, my cheek pressed against a colorful carpet that smelled faintly of crayons and baby lotion, and in my arms was little Thomas, breathing slow and deep like he'd finally made peace with the world for the first time in 3 days. I wasn't in my bed. I wasn't even in my own home. I was at Elite Gardens Preschool, a place so expensive and polished it could have been a set for some over-the-top Netflix drama about rich people problems. But that moment wasn't about me. It was about keeping him asleep, about not breaking whatever fragile thread of comfort we'd managed to find together after nights of him crying until he was hoarse. And then I heard her. "Patricia." That voice could cut glass. "This is unacceptable. An employee sleeping on the floor like an animal? Call security." Yeah, that's how my day started. I didn't scramble to my feet or stammer out some half-baked excuse. I'd been through enough in my life to know when staying calm was the sharpest weapon in the room. I just stroked Thomas's back and said quietly, "You know, kids with special needs require different care. He can only sleep when he feels constant human warmth." Patricia adjusted her expensive blazer like my words were lint she could brush off. "Parents pay $40,000 a year for their children to receive professional care. Not this," she snapped, her eyes darting around like someone performing for an invisible audience. And she didn't notice the black Bentley pulling into the lot outside, or the man stepping out in a tailored coat worth more than my car. Jonathan Blackwell, CEO of Blackwell Industries, father of the very baby in my arms. He'd come early, caught the whole thing through the window without us knowing. Now, I wasn't just some babysitter who dozed off. I was a 26-year-old with a degree in special education, magna cum laude, holding this job because it paid triple what I could get anywhere else, and because my parents had died in a car accident, leaving me with 3 younger siblings to raise. But in this place, my qualifications meant less than the color of my skin. From day one, I'd seen the hierarchy. The well-connected, less qualified white teachers got the plum schedules, the smallest classes, the praise. The kids with special needs? They were treated like inconveniences, shuffled to the corners with the bare minimum of attention. And Patricia ran it all with a kind of polished cruelty you almost had to respect for its consistency. "Gather your things. You're fired." "Inappropriate behavior, violation of institutional rules," she said, and something in me just smiled. Not because I was beaten, but because I'd been playing the long game for weeks. "Sure, Ms. Patterson," I said lightly, "but I'll wait until Thomas's father arrives. Security protocols. You understand." What she didn't know, what no one knew, was that for the past 2 months, I'd been documenting everything. Teachers leaving kids alone to smoke, fabricated therapy sessions billed at thousands a month, ghost employees on payroll, federal funds meant for special needs children mysteriously vanishing. All of it, logged and time-stamped. Jonathan came in and froze. His son was asleep in my arms peacefully, like never before. Patricia pounced. "I just caught this employee violating our most basic protocols," she barked. But Jonathan's eyes stayed on me, on the baby, on the fact that when he reached for his son, Thomas clung to me and cried when anyone else tried to hold him. "Mr. Blackwell, your son has sensory difficulties due to mild cerebral palsy," I said gently. "He needs constant contact to regulate and feel safe. The other teachers prefer more distant methods." Patricia cut in. "We are not a regular daycare. We are an elite educational institution." Jonathan glanced between us, something clearly churning in his mind. "Let me back up a sec. I hadn't taken this job to start a war. I'd taken it because my siblings needed me to keep our house, because the salary was good, and because I thought I could make a difference for kids who needed more than cookie-cutter care. But over 3 months, I'd uncovered something uglier than I expected. Patricia was running a racket, overbilling parents, pocketing money, inventing staff members on paper, neglecting the most vulnerable children. And she had the arrogance to think no one could touch her. The next morning, she called me in for what she thought would be my final humiliation. The room was loaded: board members, influential moms, a school lawyer. She started her little speech about not aligning with our values, but I cut her off with a calm, "I completely understand. Oh, and by the way, last night the State Department of Education received an anonymous tip in about 15 minutes. Investigators will be here with a search warrant." You could hear the oxygen leave the room. And sure enough, Agent Sarah Mitchell walked in with a team, 3 evidence boxes, and a face like she'd come to collect souls. Jonathan arrived too, with his lawyer and a forensic accountant. That was my twist, the most powerful parent in the school standing in the room while I laid out every document, every recording, every ugly truth. I played an audio file where Patricia's own voice said, "These special kids are a financial burden. Make up whatever extra fees you need." Their parents are too desperate to question it. Her skin went pale, her hands shook. She sputtered about misunderstandings, but it was over. Jonathan stared at the spreadsheets, at the fake therapy charges, at the numbers showing he'd been paying thousands for services his son never got. I wasn't angry anymore, I was surgical. Ghost teachers, $120,000 a year siphoned off, 80% of federal special needs funds diverted to her personal account. It all hit the table. Agent Mitchell stood, cuffs in hand. "Mrs. Patterson, you are under arrest for federal fraud, embezzlement, and aggravated child neglect." The sound of those cuffs clicking shut was satisfying. Yeah, but not in the way people think. It wasn't revenge. It was proof that the system could work if you fed it enough undeniable truth. Jonathan looked at me differently that day. "You planned this from the beginning?" he asked. "No," I said. "I just couldn't stay quiet once I knew." And months later, I was in a new office, running the Kesha Johnson Institute for Inclusive Education with a $50 million investment training specialized teachers, auditing schools, giving families the care they paid for and deserved. We'd already helped hundreds of children. And it all started with me sleeping on a floor because a child needed to feel safe. The funny thing? Patricia wrote me from prison a year later. Said she finally understood what I'd been protecting. Said she regretted wasting 15 years trying to fix special children instead of adapting the world for them. I kept the letter not as a trophy, but as a reminder that even the worst people can change when they're stripped of their power. So yeah, sometimes the smartest move isn't to swing first, it's to watch, record, wait until the truth can land like a hammer. That morning, people thought they saw a teacher breaking rules. What they really saw was the moment the right person realized they'd underestimated me. And now I want to know, what would you have done? Blown the whistle the second you saw wrongdoing? Or held it all in until you could take the whole machine down in one shot? Because I've heard both sides, and trust me, people have strong feelings about it.